Hiya! It's come to up check. And yeah, I'm actually making a video. Shocker. And no, it's not a WWE video. Yeah, so obviously the world knows CM Punk debuted on AEW. I bought the pay-per-view. I figured, if nothing else, the Punk match was going to be it's CM Punk. So I did a little bit of I watched a few of the previous episodes of Dynamite and Rampage just to see what the build-up was like, and I watched the pre-show thingy that just sort of hyped up all the matches, and I wasn't prepared for how much absolute fun this card was. Obviously I'm talking now All Out, AEW All Out 2021. It still blows my mind, but we're yeah, the last couple of years have been very weird for all of us, I think. But yeah, so I was genuinely really into this show. The tag match on the pre-show was pretty much just a litany of look at how amazing our guys are, and innovative and fun. I didn't know a lot of the guys, I have to admit, but I do quite like Orange Cassidy. He's grown on me quite a lot, and Jungle Boy I think is quite good. I quite like their theme. Yeah, it's good. And the crowd gets into it, which I find that if the crowd's really invested, that helps me be more invested. And the crowd were hot like all night for this, every single match. Miro, formerly known as Rusev, and I'm going to be saying formerly known as a lot for this, beat Eddie Kingston for the the TNT Championship. Is that right? I think so. This was quite good fun. I think we're going to get another round because it seemed like they said that I don't know, I just felt like it wasn't I felt like they were saying that Eddie Kingston had pushed Miro further than anybody else had before, and it kind of felt like, because Miro pretty much low-blowed Eddie, and that was how he got the win, pretty much. And I feel like that story's not finished. I've been, from sort of like watching, it doesn't seem that they do a lot of repeat matches in AEW, because it seems like they've got a lot of guys. And they're building up everybody so that if somebody needs to go off for a couple of weeks because they're getting married or someone's having a baby or things like that, they've got the freedom to do that, which obviously they don't in WWE. It's kind of like you work or you lose your spot. So yeah, I really, like, honestly, by the time I got to the women's match, I'd already decided that this pay-per-view would earn the £15 I paid for it on Fight TV. It was just great. Then we had John Moxley, formerly Dean Ambrose. I told you there's a lot of formulas in this. Against Kojima. Which he won. I mean, I think that was pretty much, it was going to be a New Japan guy coming into AEW, and AEW isn't really, doesn't have the history as anywhere near as much as New Japan does. So I think that they were willing to send somebody over to put over an AEW guy, even though he's formerly WWE. I think that was really good, and I think that's that they're opening up that doorway. I think is really, really good. They're definitely not sort of saying our guys can only do you know what I mean? They're not locking them in. And seeing how genuinely happier people seem to be arriving in AEW. I mean, Punk just looks so fucking happy to be there. He really does. He just looks like he just wants to come out and then just dance down and go, I am happy, I am happy. It's basically a party every time Punk comes out, which I don't hate at all. I just think it's great. Yeah, so we'd gotten through the first 3 matches, and I was already like, this pay-per-view has paid for itself. And then we had the women's match, and I didn't know what the women's division was going to be like in AEW, but I really think, I don't really get Britt Baker yet. I think that's just something that it's going to take me a while of getting to know. Oh dear. Sorry, they've just cut they just cut the grass outside. It's making me all sniffy. So yeah, I didn't know what to expect from this women's match. I'm like, is this a piss break match like the old Divas ones? But no, it was a really, really good match, and I actually really like Chris Statlander. I think she's not only a very attractive young lady, but she came across really well for me. I also really liked Rebel's gear. I was just like, I kind of want to steal her gear and put it on Jamie Hayter. For some reason, I really liked that outfit. It stuck with me. And it was sort of like, okay, so this is a good WWE pay-per-view by WWE standards. This is a good pay-per-view up to this point. And then we had the Lucha Brothers versus the Young Bucks in a cell. And oh my God, was this brutal and amazing and wow. It was a really good match. Obviously I've not seen, I know who the Young Bucks are because everyone knows who the Young Bucks are pretty much. And I always knew that they were really talented. I knew less about the Lucha Brothers, but I like the Lucha style generally. But oh man, this cage match, there was a couple of times where I was like, oh my God, they are literally going to kill each other. And there was a point where there was just Penta's, it looked like they'd moshed in the entire side of Penta's face, which was really, really sick. Was it Matt? Yeah, Matt. They threw the guy from the outside threw a bag in, and in the bag was a sneaker, the bottom of which was covered in thumbtacks. So they actually did like a super kick with thumbtacks, and it was just like, oh no, I don't like that. Oh, it was the whole match was just awesome. They kept a really good pace. It wasn't too frenetic, which is the one thing that sort of at times, especially with the first tag match, there were times where it was too quick for the announcers to call, which is okay, but sometimes I feel like it loses something in the translation when it's not being called. Oh yeah, there was a couple of really funky spots in the tag match. I actually grabbed my Cara, because she was in the kitchen. I grabbed her and dragged her in and got her. I actually paused it and replayed it because they did a chain of submissions. So it was like headlock, ankle lock, headlock, ankle lock. And then the guy who isn't Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, yeah, came off the ropes and went into them, and they kind of went boosh. Oh, it was so good. It was so good. It made my wrestling nerd brain so happy. Oh, sorry. I remembered partway through that I really wanted to mention that just because it got me. But yeah, the thing I love about watching non-WWE is that they do have more freedom to take more risks. And the biggest praise thing I can give this is that I heard the guys saying this place made me fall back in love with pro wrestling. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah. And then I watched this pay-per-view. And for the first time in years, I watched the show the night after live. I stayed up till 1 in the morning and watched the show live because that's how much it reinvigorated my love for it. There was nothing on this show. Even like there was one slightly crappy match, but it was 3 minutes, and it was sort of like, yeah, okay. I wasn't mad about it. There was so much good here that when there was something slightly crap, it actually worked, which is kind of mind-blowing. But like after the cage match, I was like, okay, they're gonna have to put in something fillery. Because I'm like, the crowd were gonna be a little bit burnt out. But what they actually did was like a rumble type match. So over the top rope elimination. But instead of having one person's match at a time, they had the 4 suits of cards, and there were 5 people for each suit, and then a joker. So we knew who was going to be in it, but we didn't know what suit they were coming out as. So they sorted out, they did a special, supposedly, I'm sure they just told them they were coming out. They did this whole deck of cards thing, but I felt like it was a really nice twist, and it wasn't too... Because like, you think 5 people coming down at once, yeah, you didn't really get a good look at them as they came in, but that was because it didn't move too much off of the ring. Like, they got a shot of each girl as they were coming down, but they didn't, it wasn't like 2 people fighting in the ring, then an entrance and a slow walk to the ring, and am I going to get in the ring straight away or am I not? They kind of cut all that bullshit out and just went, okay, 5 people at a time, go. And it was genuinely really enjoyable. There's some really interesting women in that roster. But it got to the Joker. And I was like, okay, so this is obviously a thing, this is somebody. And then Ruby Riott came out, who is now Ruby Soho. And, oh my god, the grin on her face. Honestly, this is what, I mean, she looked so happy and so excited and so hyped to be going to the ring. And I haven't felt that way about a lot of the WWE guys for a long while. I mean, I was excited to see Edge come back to a certain extent, but I find I'm too worried about him all the time to really appreciate it. I'm not that fussed about the bulk of WWE apart from maybe AJ Styles. And I was genuinely, at the end of this night, I was going, well, who else could they bring in? And my brain literally went, AJ would be so perfect for that role. I'll get to that in the end. So Ruby Soho won. And it seemed like they, by the reactions of the crowd, mostly it seemed like they were eliminating the ones that were less likely to win first. And so, like, sometimes crowd were a bit miffed when somebody went out, but mostly it was pretty, it felt nice and fluid. And like, by the time each new set of 5 had come out, a couple had been eliminated, so it didn't get too crowded for most of it. And it seemed to go down to like, even when you were on the last like 6 or so, it really felt like all of those women were legitimate contenders. Ruby Soho, Ruby Riott won, which I love. I love that she got to come down to Rancid. That was just like, oh, damn, that's cool. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, this was a really fun way to build everybody back into it, because I think the cage match was so insane. Did I actually get to mention the Lucha Brothers won? The Lucha Brothers won, they beat the Young Bucks, which was very cool. Yeah, this is very rambly. I do apologise for the fact it's rambly. It's fine. You all know me, you know I ramble, it's all good. Right, so, yeah. Yeah, so Ruby Soho won. It was a really good, what I was trying to say, it was really good the way they managed it, so that the crowd had, like, they did the countdown with it and everything, the way you would for the Rumble, but it wasn't like it wasn't quite so, it wasn't one person each time, so you got more combinations out of it, and it felt a lot more sort of organic in some ways. I really, really enjoyed it. And then we had Chris Jericho versus MJF. And for those of you who don't know, MJF, I can't actually explain how much I appreciate heels really, really make me dislike them. MJF is so good at just being a complete and utter asswipe. He is. I intensely dislike that character, and I've barely seen anything. He just has the sort of personality that you really want to see him get kicked in the face, and it's great. It's like the best Jericho as a heel is MJF, and it's brilliant. And watching face Chris Jericho against MJF, it was just, oh, I loved it, it was great. Oh, it was, when like a career match, so it was, if Jericho loses, then he isn't allowed to be an in-ring part of AEW. And they did make that really specific. And Jericho said that he would just be on commentary and he wasn't going to leave the company. And like, he was really happy about everything he'd done in his career, and it was really, really good. It was quite fun watching the entire crowd singing along to his Fozzy song as well. They've really taken it and put a lot of life in it when it comes to the ring, which I love. And MJF does seem to be really good in the ring as well. He kind of reminds me of halfway between obnoxious Miz heel and like really completely douche-ness. I can't even put it in. He just, literally, that guy makes you want to thump him, and it's great. That is exactly how you should feel about a heel. If a heel can make you genuinely be sat there going, that's great. That's absolutely what you want. Jericho won. It was a poor match. It really was good. It had a really good back and forth. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really genuinely enjoyed it. And by this point, I was like, this pay-per-view is amazing. And then CM Punk versus Darby Allen happened. I didn't know really what I expected from Darby Allen. They kind of plugged him as like an emo young Jeff Hardy, if that makes any sense. Like risk taker, daredevil, all that sort of stuff. And he's got like half of his face is like a skeleton, or he had like trees going up it, which I think looked really, really cool. And he's been been taken under the wing of Sting, which I thought was quite interesting. But I kind of figured that it was pretty much going to go Darby Allen taking a load of bumps for Punk. Overall, I think it was a really good match. I do think there's still a little bit of cardio work CM Punk could do with putting in, because there were a couple of points where it did look like he was struggling to keep his breath, but that just could be well acted. Generally, I mean, there were some bits in this that I was cringing, but it was really, really good, and it wasn't a short match either. They gave it the time it needed. CM Punk got all of his main stuff in, and finally he got to go to sleep, which was fantastic. Yeah, I really genuinely enjoyed this. And like by that point, I was like, I honestly could switch this off now and be happy. But I will be honest saying I have not watched many Kenny Omega matches, but every one I've watched, I've come away impressed. And he's part of. Okay, so the Elite. Basically, the Elite is Cody Rhodes. Well, no, the original team that created AEW is Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega. So they kind of grouped together to start the company, and then Jericho joined, and Dean Ambrose, John Moxley joined, and Christian wasn't far behind, Christian Cage. So this group it's very much wrestlers having fun, and it comes across that way. It really does. I don't think I've been as impressed with a pay-per-view almost since WrestleMania 19. It wasn't the scale of that, but it was like the quality of this was just amazing. As I said, there was one throwaway match, which after everybody screaming themselves to death, because CM Punk versus Darby Allen, I don't know if I mentioned it, but this pay-per-view is taking place in Chicago, and it is CM Punk's first match back. So, yeah, the crowd was screaming their tits off, quite genuinely screaming their tits off, because they were so into it. So yeah, then there was Paul White, which is Big Show, formerly known as Big Show, versus a guy called QT Marshall. It's spelled Marshall, but apparently it's Marshall. Whatever. It was alright. It was 3 minutes. It was a throw-in match just for Big Show to come out and do his basic moves, and win. But it was quite nice because of where it was placed. It was a throwaway, but it was a throwaway that you didn't mind, because like this is a 4-hour pay-per-view. So by this point you were flagging a little bit, and I think as awful as you don't want to say that about any match on a card. But this was your bathroom break and your get yourself a drink break match, because they didn't do adverts or anything like that because it's pay-per-view. And I genuinely think, as much as it was a crap 3-minute match, it was just, it did what it needed to do. The heel guy looked like a weasel, and the Big Show Paul White looked like a massive man, which was absolutely all it needed to do. And then we had Kenny Omega versus Christian. And I did not know I wanted this in my life. I wasn't particularly excited for it. I bought it for CM Punk, I'm being totally honest. But am I? Oh, great match. Really, really great match. Oh, it was so entertaining. I really like seeing things like, I really should quote the unprettier kill switch, whatever you want to call it, being treated with respect is really nice. Kenny Omega's, I mean, he is an extremely talented guy. He's always been an extremely talented guy. And we were always playing, when is he ever going to come to WWE? And it always seemed like they just didn't feel he was the right fit. And I kind of loved the fact that they didn't really have somewhere top tier that they could go and be used where they felt they needed to be used. And instead of just bitching about it on social media, they made themselves a fucking company and started it. That's, I mean, what more? I mean, yeah. Kenny Omega and Christian was just great. There were some really nice spots. But I'll be honest with you, I remember really enjoying this match, but the kicker came at the end. And that kind of overshadowed it in a way for me. I want to go back and rewatch it because I feel like the whole pay-per-view, because I feel like I was so blown away. Oh dear, it took 30 minutes and I'm all stuffy because the grass got in. I apologise. Right, water. So at the end, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and Gallows and Anderson, who aren't called Gallows and Anderson, I can't remember what they're called in this, I'm not even going to worry about it, are part of this group called the Elite. And from watching the pre-show and watching a review of the last episode before the pay-per-view, the last TV episode, there was this rumour running around that it might be Adam Cole, it might be Bryan Danielson, and they were saying like, we'll get one but not the other because they won't, and then they had Adam Cole come out and just be utterly brilliant. And he instantaneously joined the heel faction, and they were all like, "We love you, we missed you, hugs." It was great. We're the Elite, we're the super bad guys, we're gonna take over the world. And then Bryan Danielson's music hit, and I love it. I really, really love it. It's fantastic. Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson is something I never thought I would ever get, and I'm so happy that there's a chance we might get it. Yay! It's really cool. It's really, really cool. So yeah, that was like super cool. And like they literally debuted both of them one after the other, and it was just like, okay, my mind is just blown to bits and is lying unsatisfied chunks all over the floor. So yeah, I think you may be getting more wrestling videos, because if AEW keeps going the way it is, I really, really, really love that pay-per-view. There was not Like I said, the only slightly iffy thing lasted for 3 minutes. And it was fine. It wasn't bad. It was just okay, good-ish. But everything else was so good and so much fun. It really, I cannot recommend this enough. For those of you who remember, go and look up my Death Before Dishonor review for ROH. It was the first ROH pay-per-view that I ever watched, and I came out of that singing their praises. And the way I feel about AEW is stronger than the way I felt at the end of that pay-per-view about ROH. So, yeah. If you want WWE reviews, you might get them at some point. If you want AEW reviews, stay right here. They will be coming.